What if the advice you were given as a teenager about food and exercise didn't make you healthier, but it made you distrust your body? Today's conversation is for anyone who grew up hearing eat less, move more, and tried to outrun their food or believed that health meant punishment. Our guest story shows us what is possible when you stop fighting your body and start fueling your life so that you can actually do what you love.
Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work?
Welcome to the Coaches Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction, it's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Glucose, Grit, and Grace, the podcast where we talk about real life, real bodies without the sugarcoating. I'm Coach Elaine, and today's episode is such a powerful reminder that health isn't about restriction. It's about understanding what your body needs and responding with care so that you can live the life you want to live, travel and do sports and have fun for as long as you want to do it. And we're so excited today to welcome our guest coach, Laurel Parker. Laurel's story is one that a lot of women are going to recognize, being told that at a young age that her body was a problem to fix, that weight loss was the answer to preventing future disease, and that health meant eating less and exercising more no matter the cost. But what makes Laurel's story so meaningful is where she is now. She lives an active, adventurous life, skating, skiing, swimming, traveling, not because she's chasing weight loss, but because she's fueling her body well and honoring it. So today we're talking about how those early messages shape us and how shifting to a PFC3 way of life changed Laurel's relationship with food and movement, and what she wishes every woman, young and menopausal, understood about their body. So this is a conversation about freedom, longevity, and choosing health for the long game. Laurel, we're so grateful you're here. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited about being here too.
Good. Well, let's start off by telling us a little bit about yourself. We were talking before, you mentioned to me how the doctors you went to in your preteens and teens kept telling you that you need to lose weight, right? They gave you that message so that you could avoid family disease issues.
Right.
And then tell you eat less, move more, or eat whatever you want as long as you exercise it off, right? So how did that affect you while you were growing up?
So I grew up like a lot of people. My parents were Depression era babies. Great grandparents were immigrants. There's a lot of struggle for them growing up. So food was a very central part of family. You cleaned your plate. How many people grew up with eat everything on your plate, whether you like it or not, right?
Yeah.
You had, or whether or not you were hungry. Was love, food was reward, food was punishment, right? Or lack of food, right? If you didn't clean your plate, you didn't get dessert.
Yeah.
If you were ill, then you had to avoid certain foods, even if that's what you craved, right? So there was this, I grew up with a bit of a mindset around what food meant. When I hit my teenage years, a lot of heart disease, diabetes in my family, a number of women and some men who were dealing with obesity. Family history, I believe, influenced my pediatrician. I was 12 years old. I went in for my school physical, and weighing you was part of that process. And I was 105 pounds. I had gained 10 pounds in the course of a year and hadn't grown any. I apparently had stopped growing. And the pediatrician said something to my mom. And the next thing I knew, my mother was bringing me a diet out of a women's magazine that was, carb, no sweets, diet soda, cheese, green vegetables, fat-free dressing. And that was the message I got from that point on
Just what
was
a preteen wants to eat, right?
12-year-old, right? It was good for you. It was you too fat. You need to eat less. And that was the message. They may not have been specifically saying you're too fat, but every time I went to a family event that had massive sideboards of food, because, again, that was the family thing. That's how you celebrated. Lots of food. If I took even a second look at all the desserts, someone started making comments about, minute on the lips, forever on the hips. How many people have heard that one, right? So I was a teenager, right? And so the message from the magazines was eat this restrictive diet and do these exercises every day and you'll look like me. And I didn't know what airbrushing was, right? So we have Photoshop and AI now. Back then it was airbrushing, and there are these beautiful thin women who supposedly were doing nothing but eating apples all day long and drinking, a Diet Coke. And so that was the message I got: eat less, move your body every day. The running craze was big when I started college. I hated running. I did it every single day. I preferred to swim. That was my thing. I was not a competitor ever. I don't see myself as an athlete. It was my meditation. If I was struggling with something, I would go swim laps. Again, the message I was getting, if I got out of the pool and I was hungry, oh no, I can't eat, right? Because, to keep your weight down. So in a way, I thought I was succeeding because I didn't gain that freshman 10, but I was paying so much attention to the scale. I wasn't noticing how strong my body was. I wasn't noticing how I was fitting into clothes. I wasn't paying attention to how I felt. If I was tired, then I needed a nap. It wasn't, you need to eat something. Your body's trying to tell you there's a problem here. Was a Diet Coke addict for 50 years, thinking that was healthy. Just chemicals. It wasn't until I quit and started moving out of foods that were inflammatory that I started realizing there's a different message I should have been getting all along. Going through perimenopause, having headaches that was probably related to blood sugar dysregulation, without really understanding what that was. When I talked to the doctor about these things, I got prescriptions. When my cholesterol started to go up, instead of talking to me about my nutrition, I got a prescription. I accidentally gave up gluten just to see what would happen because I had read a book that said something about my blood type and the interaction with certain foods and certain disease processes. My allergies went away. My whole life, I had allergies to pollen and ragweed. All of a sudden, I didn't need prescription allergy medicine. It was the food that was influencing that. I had an easier time sleeping. It was a moment for me, and that was 15 years ago, that started this journey towards researching and eventually becoming part of the PFC3 community. There was a lot more, it made a lot more sense to me than anything the experts had ever told me.
So you kind of on already how you found that PFC3 way of life a little bit, and you can expand on that more, but what difference has that made for you? The allergies, you take the allergy medicine and stuff, but what other differences did that make for you?
Skin health. Just group is currently in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. And I've had a number of people look at me and say, well, looking young must be genetic. It's little more than that. My had a bout with stage 4 cancer a couple of years ago, and he swears, I've heard him tell people that's the way I feed him. It's this way of life that helped him successfully get through that treatment and return to work. So there's a lot of reinforcement in how I'm feeling as I age.
Yeah.
When I was 40 and started developing symptoms of arthritis, again, the doctor's response was, we can talk about prescription medication, but the aging process, it's probably genetic. There's nothing you can do about it. When I changed the way I ate and what I ate, that went away.
Yeah.
So
amazing,
the skin issues that back in my teenage years, spending hundreds of dollars on creams, trying to manage acne and, and all the horrors of teenagerhood that everyone says, oh, it's hormones. It's just something you have to put up with. You'll grow out of it. It was the food I was eating, right? So it was
interesting is that those hormones are also regulated by your food.
Correct.
Yeah.
People think the hormones are kind of, hormones, things like that, when in reality, those hormones have to do a lot with the food that you eat and how we regulate, sugars and things like that.
Yep.
So, wow, that's
And one of the things I wish someone had said to me as a teenager, instead of you just have to stop eating. You can't have sweets anymore. You'd be in pain the way I was in my teens and 20s with my cycle, all the way up through. I used to tell people, thank God for menopause because my migraines quit. No one said, let's take a closer look at your let's hormone panel and take a closer look at what's going on. It was simply, oh, that's the way it is. Oh, I'm sure your mother did the same. It's genetic, right? It's not genetic. There is something you can do about it.
Yeah.
So with so much of what you are saying and having, for decades as well and growing up with that same information, what would you tell people today? And I'm talking like young all the way to menopause, because it a thing regardless, and eating is a thing regardless of how old you are. But what would you tell people about the mindset of eat less and move more, exercise more?
I would tell them that while moving your body daily is important, eating less and exercising more, that calorie mindset is incorrect information. What we all need to learn is what's right for our bodies. I am only 5 feet tall. The amount of food that is right for my body is going to be different from someone who's 6 feet tall. The amount of food I take in, as active as I am, is still going to be different from someone who is an Olympic athlete. We're in an Olympic year after all, right? So it's going to be very different from mine. Needs are going to be very different from someone who's in their 60s and 70s. Right. So what you need and how your body responds is really going to depend on what season of life you are in. As a teenager, you're starting to go through puberty. You may still be growing. You're going through a lot of body changes that make you feel uncomfortable. For a young girl is a challenge. Absolutely. The response should not be eat less to manage your body, right? There should be some level of grace and self-acceptance to what is going on, and a strategy that looks at your lifestyle. How much stress are you under? What are you eating that you might be sensitive to? How much sleep are you getting? Hydration level. I didn't like water. I still struggle a little bit, but throughout all of the magazines, all the diet books I read, no one talked to me about regularly hydrating my body, not just drink water. I did get that message. Drink as much water as possible. But if we don't absorb that water, it just goes straight through us. It doesn't good. So really serving your body, I wish, and it's going to look different. Teens, 20s. We know that with babies. We know that what we're feeding babies is different from what we feed adults, but we don't seem to incorporate that same philosophy throughout our lifespan.
Right.
What a baby needs, what a toddler needs, what a child in elementary school needs, what someone in high school needs, because they're going through sort of twin stress. I mean, like at high school, I was under a lot of stress. I wasn't sleeping because I was trying to do all the things and get into a top college, get straight A's, and build that perfect resume. That was a lot of stress, and no one talked to me about the effect of stress on my sleep, on my weight, on my general well-being, on my skin. None of that. It was a badge of honor being stressed and being busy.
Truly.
Right? And I know a lot of people out there are resonating with that. That was what you were supposed to strive for, is sleeping as little as possible and being under lots of stress. That was a badge of honor.
Right. And then combining that with eating less and exercising more, it's just a recipe for disaster. So it's
exactly. That's ultimately what brought me to this lifestyle. Is I was making changes. I was weightlifting only because it was something easy I could do in my living room, watching TV with my kids. You keep a set of weights. I a couple of TV shows that brought me through simple weight. And I remember feeling better, feeling stronger. I was raising 3 kids. I needed to be strong. I had a big dog. I needed to be strong. I don't remember at the time anyone specifically saying women need to lift heavy. I'm hearing that now. This is years ago, where it just something that made me feel better about myself. I could lift, right? Helped me lift suitcases, hockey bags, groceries, manage a large dog, all that kind of stuff. Just pieces that I sort of put together on my own. But this eat less and exercise more, I was still stuck on the number on the scale. That wasn't going down. I was 105 at 12. I weighed more than that when I found this lifestyle. And I remember thinking, I've done all the things. There's just something wrong with my body. And I had 2 friends of mine who were in the process of certifying as health coaches say to me, I think you're not eating enough. And I didn't believe them, because that was not the message I was getting. In fact, when I contacted a nutritionist I was referred to, my doctor at the time, their response was something to the effect of, you are underestimating how much you're eating and overestimating how much exercise you're doing. It was really those 2 people in my life who knew exactly how much I was doing and how much I was eating, to put the idea in my head that these efforts to eat less and exercise more, to lose weight, were actually counterproductive. They were shutting down my metabolism. And I met Carrie Lupoli on a service trip to Mexico. We had some long drives from our hotel to the work site where we were talking about things, and she had just started her podcast. So I started following her podcast. I met Mark McDonald, I think shortly thereafter. So I was aware of this program, read it, and it was one of those things that just sounded too good to be true, right? I had all this misinformation in my head, and I thought, this is just too good to be true, right? So I sort of about it. I followed them. I was like, okay, this makes sense, but too good to be true. Until posted someone, I wish I remember the name of the guest she had, who was talking about metabolic set points and how your body protects you in ways that may seem a little dysfunctional. And one of them is, if you are putting your body under stress, if you are starving yourself, then your body will shut down, hold on to fat, and essentially save your life, right? So the more you chase that, and that's the other message I wish someone had told me as a teenager. If you're eating less and exercising more, your body's going to respond by protecting you. Especially when I was pregnant, I gained over 40 pounds and I was sick the whole time, and I really wasn't eating. And I got fat shamed when I went in for my weigh-ins every month because I was gaining so much weight. And I told them I wasn't eating. I told them how sick I was, and they didn't believe me. They straight up didn't believe me. So that's another message. He doesn't believe you. It's not you, it's them. If you're not eating enough, if you're not feeling well, and your doctor doesn't believe you, find another doctor, please. Find someone who is to you and will look at something other than, you're probably eating more than you think you are, kind of.
Getting rid of those old mindsets that we've had for 30, 40 years is so hard. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that, about how you said, you're exercising, but you did it. And you exercised a lot, and you ate very little. And now you're so healthy. You're eating PFC3. And what I love about your story is now you are also such an athlete. I mean, if you go on her website, you'll see these beautiful pictures of her like on strips and stuff. Nice. She loves to travel, but she loves to swim. She loves to ski. She ice skates. So what I want to know is, how do you change that mindset of, I have to exercise, I have to do the things I hate because they tell me I need to, and then like be able to love moving your body in healthy ways? How did that change for you?
So some of it was maturity, right? So I the fads when I was a teenager and a young professional. Running with fad. I hated running, but it was good for me, right? To aerobics classes in my 20s and fit them in because I still had that idea in my head that I had to exercise every day to keep my weight down, right? So it wasn't a managing stress, it wasn't a socializing, it was even to be healthy, it was to keep my weight down, right? That was the focus. There were things I loved and things I didn't. And the older I got, the less time I had, the more I focused on, all right, I exercise, but what do I enjoy doing? I enjoy walking my dog with the neighbors. And so I had regular walks, thanks to the invitation of my neighbor who would call me and say, okay, nice long walks and an enjoyable social hour. I've always loved swimming, even as a child. I've loved swimming. And for a while I thought, well, I can't really swim because I'm not a competitor. I'm not an athlete. And the older I got, the more I was like, you know what? This makes me feel good. I enjoy swimming. That's what I'm going to do. I learned to ice skate as an adult because my son at the time wanted to play hockey. So we went and learned to skate as a family, and it was fun. And so it wasn't a regular thing for me. Ice skating is expensive, but I skated for fun. And then I got involved with the figure skating community as a volunteer. So I had more access to opportunities to skate and people who were coaching me so that I could get better and have more fun. And that's what I do now. I don't compete. I don't test other than what I might need to for self-confidence. I ice for fun. When doctors ask me what I'm doing for balance work, now that I'm in my 60s, I say I ice skate. And they say, great. That box is checked off for the question.
So
that's right.
that goes into, though, so you were exercising because of those messages that you were hearing about, you want to eat whatever you want, then you got to exercise it off. But now it sounds like you're exercising because you enjoy what you're doing. How's
Exactly.
that changed in that mindset of, oh God, I have to run, to, wow, I get to go ice skating, or I get to go spend some time in the pool? How's
Right.
that changed your life and your just overall the way you look at things?
My stress levels have dropped dramatically. My self-criticism has dropped. That evil voice that says you are worthless, you are lazy, you are fat, you're nothing because you're not running marathons, one
Yeah.
week, or you're
Right.
not a CrossFit champion, or what that is of the day, right? Me step away from that voice going, marathons are for other people. And I have tried a number of things. I was in a triathlon club for a while, and the only thing I liked about training triathlon was the swim. So that's what I do. I work out with the club just to do the swim, because they would do distance swims across a lake, and it was a beautiful swim. But I had zero interest in then getting on a bike and going for a 15-mile bike ride. So it's maturity. It really is. It's stepping away from what other people tell me I'm supposed to do and paying attention to what I want to do.
Yeah.
And for that next level, paying attention to how good I feel when I'm doing it. So again, I wish I could tell my 12-year-old self that. Just because other people are,
Right.
fat is fill in the blank.
Exactly. And I think that's
Doesn't mean
part
you
of
have
it
to.
too, because a lot of times we do things because we're told we need to, or whatever it is. My husband is a triathlon participant, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And he does it more for himself, but he loves to bike and swim and run. Me, I wouldn't mind the biking. I sink and I don't mind running, but do I want to do a triathlon? No, that's not for me. So to me, that is, do I even want to do a biathlon? No. But bring up so much about how much you enjoy that. Yeah. But also with the way that you're eating now and fueling your body, I mean, it's been somewhat of a catalyst for you in being able to pursue those activities that you love now versus have to do?
I don't think it's a catalyst as much as it supports what I'm doing, right? So I can confidently go to the gym. I take a class at the Y that's sort of a CrossFit light style workout that gets in that heavy strength training I probably would not do on my own. So I encourage people to think a little bit outside the box. I did videos on TV for the longest time. That was a good sort of base layer, but it's to get an environment where you have other people pushing you a little bit, whether it's taking a trail on a hike that you wouldn't otherwise take, or a little bit heavier in a class. What I remember is feeling uncomfortable after a workout, feeling in pain, out of breath, or my muscles were sore. And again, that was a badge of honor, right? So
Right.
no pain, no gain, right? So if you weren't in pain, then you didn't work hard enough. And that's actually not what's going on. If there may be a little bit of discomfort if you've upped your reps, but you shouldn't be in pain. You shouldn't be breaking anything. In particular, I know there's some degree men have to be careful about bone health, but women, the older we get, the more that's an issue. And if you're not eating enough and you're doing all these workouts, your body is going to respond to that by pulling calcium and other nutrients out of your bones, not just your muscles, because that's that's what we've learned in this program is if you're not fueling your body appropriately and your body needs energy, it'll go after your muscles. And
we
if
try
it's
and
not
balance
getting
that out with the food. Yes.
right, and if you're not getting the right minerals, it's going to come out of your bones, and at some point you're going to be prone to fractures. You're going to develop osteoporosis. And I know people who had that diagnosis when they were in their 40s.
Yeah.
That's not, at least with current medicine, current protocols, that's not reversible.
Yeah.
So all you can do to prevent osteopenia and osteoporosis, that frail bone structure that we think of as old people, but some people are developing it young because they're not doing it right. It really followed this idea that I need to exercise as much as possible and live on as little as possible. And we're damaging our bodies without realizing it.
We are. Before we end today, I wanted to ask you one quick question about how I know you travel a lot. Your partner is a pilot, so you get to go a lot of fun places, sometimes spontaneously.
I'm jealous.
I know. Me too. I'd love to be on that list, by the way.
I would too.
But how do you make sure that you're eating healthy? I know it's easier to move. You travel, right? Because you're walking more, you're seeing more things. And a lot of your trips too are with strips and stuff like that. But let's talk a little bit about how do you make travel work with your healthy lifestyle?
So some of it is the kind of trips I take. So I have planned trips that are ski trips. I belong to a club in Birmingham, the Ski Club. It's been around for about 60 years, and they literally go all over the world on ski trips. So planning a trip that is active. I go to social ice dance weekends, and those are non-competitive, fun weekends that are sponsored by a number of clubs in this country. I want to shout out to the Starlight Ice Dance Club in Minneapolis, the Skating Club of Boston, the Cricket Club in Toronto, who used to host an adult ice dance weekend. These are places, there's a number of other clubs in this country that host weekends that are non-competitive. Literally, it's like a social, like a mixer, like going to a high school mixer. You go with your skates and they play music and someone skates up and says, "Shall we dance?" And if you know the dance pattern, then you do it. So planning my trips around activities that I enjoy is way I stay active when I travel. And then the other one, to your point, is when we travel, we are often in a hotel that allows us to walk to some of the main tourist kinds of things you might want to do. Every hotel I've been in has a fitness center of some sort. Sometimes we're at a beach, so you do stuff on the beach. It's, at least right now, maybe not when I was growing up, maybe not for everybody in the country, but I find most of the places I find myself has options for staying active. There's bottled water in the rooms. Some of the rewards clubs, like the Hilton, will get to a certain level. When you check in, they hand you a little gift bag with 2 bottles of water, right? So that lifestyle, I find, is easier once you're looking for it. Now, that's something else we teach in our program, is that when you start paying attention to things, you will find them, or they will find you. So knowing that I can go to a hotel that offers a free breakfast, walk past the waffle station, walk past the chocolate chip muffins, and go straight for the eggs and the turkey sausage and the fruit bowl, and feel satisfied because there's more than enough food there. No one's limiting how many eggs I take, right? So it's forward. I've been at is easy to do. It's at many of these practices. One of the hotels I was at had a vegetable, like a fry of some sort every morning,
Wow.
along with the eggs and the meat station. The meats
That's amazing.
may not necessarily be the healthiest, but they're there.
Mhm.
To have fruit of some sort, even if it's like an or banana that you have to sort of your own. I
Yeah.
was at another hotel just recently that had an omelet station, right? So I could control
Nice.
exactly what I wanted. No one was limiting the amount of food. It was eat until you're satisfied, and very easy to follow this lifestyle. At almost I've abroad, same thing. They had omelet stations. You could go to restaurants and just pick meat and vegetables. Easy. Or
Yeah.
fish. You know, I'm not a fish person. I will say that.
Mhm.
Do not like fish, but that's okay. If my at a restaurant is shrimp cocktail and a salad, or shrimp cocktail and like a fry of some sort, that's
Yeah.
a perfectly acceptable meal. And
Every restaurant
I
serves
feel
that.
like it doesn't have to be a cookie to be a reward. I got shrimp cocktail. I don't normally get
Right.
that. So.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
that. We're coming a little bit to the end of our time together. So I wanted to first ask you, we're going to do a little thing we do with all of our guests in a second. But before we do that, I want to ask, I thought there was something you wanted to maybe give our audience today.
Right. So I want people not to stress whether they're following our program, whether they're following a nutritionist program, whether the Weight Watchers, whatever they choose, right? So it's you choose whatever works for you. I don't want people feeling like they have to step away from the program they're following for their health when they travel. I don't want that dichotomy, right? So many of us grew up with that. You go travel, you eat whatever you want, right? You drink whatever you want. You don't have to do that. It really is easy. Even if you're in an airport and there's absolutely nothing you want to eat, you can pack something along the way. So I wanted to provide the tips and tricks that have worked for me to help people notice those things and find them for themselves. Also, the pitfalls, right? So if you're traveling abroad, you can't be packing fresh fruit. You can't be packing meat, right? Yeah. So there are rules. The TSA's rules change. So if you pack a nice big bag of protein powder, they're going to confiscate it. So look for individual packets of your protein powders. Maybe you take a vitamin supplement that is in powder form. Make sure it's the little. If you're carrying baggies and you're going to Colombia, as my son was joking, I believe you when you say, "Oh, it's vanilla protein powder." Right? So,
I promise.
I love it. That's awesome. We will have the link below for you guys to be able to get. I think I'm going to go get it too because I love to travel and so awesome. Okay, so what we do with all of our guests, Laurel, is we like to do a little lightning round. Just these little rapid fire questions that you have super fast answers to, but it's a fun way for us to get to know you a little outside of your coaching persona. Great. So I'm going to start by asking, what is your favorite summertime sport to do?
Oh, swimming. Absolutely. That was easy.
Yeah. Okay. At
the beach, I have to say this. So I swim year round in a pool. In the summer, summer's the only time I get to swim in a lake or swim in the beach. So I do like open water swimming.
Yeah.
Awesome. That caveat.
Yeah.
Skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing. That's what I learned when I was a little girl. That's what I enjoy doing. Yeah. I know it doesn't appeal to me, so I haven't learned. It might be if someone said you have to take this one day lesson and I did it, I might become addictive, but it appealed to me. So I'm just enjoying what I'm doing and I'm happy doing that.
That's right. So what is your favorite pre-workout fuel?
Coffee. So I am smell the taste of a good dark roast coffee. Usually in the morning, whether I'm ice skating or going to the gym or going for a swim. That's how I start my day. And side note, pay attention to your personal rhythms around food and exercise, because I personally find if I don't exercise first thing in the morning, as much as I love swimming and skating, the later the day gets, the harder it is for me to get back into something. So my pre-workout is my morning coffee. It's a ritual for me. There's a lot of emotion around it because my parents, our bedroom was right above the kitchen. My mother made coffee for my dad every morning, right? So it's a memory. It's a taste I enjoy. And I add a scoop of collagen powder and protein powder. So it's breakfast all at once. Little piece of fruit on the side, and I'm good to go. Depending on the protein mix. Some of the protein powders have MCT oils in it, so I don't have to add a fat. If I had to add a fat, I could add a little coconut oil or flaxseed oil into my coffee. And then I enjoy that. My cat comes in and sits with me, and we have our morning together, and then I start my day.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So after a day on the slopes, what is your like favorite to après-ski meal?
Anything hot. Hot. Skiing and ice skating, I hate being cold. And so that's one of the challenges for me is staying, I ski to stay warm as well as to enjoy what I'm doing. We go to some beautiful venues. So I like being a tourist, right? So I'm not a speed skater. I'm not all about going down challenging double black diamond. I'm all about just enjoying the beautiful scenery, but it's cold. And so when I get off the slopes, I want soup, chili, or stew. And I will look at whatever the specialty is of whatever restaurant we happen to be at. Often there's a chili that's known for, right? So it's take a look for something that's hot and filling and compliant with our program.
Yeah, and that's a great balanced meal. Yeah. So, what is your favorite non-sport? Because we hear a lot about your sports, which some of that I'm jealous of. But what is your favorite non-sport pastime or hobby?
I read. I love reading ever since I was a little girl. For many years, that was the gifts my relatives would give me for birthday and Christmas. I had the whole Nancy Drew collection. Anyone remembers Nancy Drew?
Yep.
Yes.
Nancy Drew, the Bobbsey twins, encyclopedia. I burned through all of those. We had a library card early on. The library is absolutely my happy place. I can go, very nice library near where I live with a really nice reading room. So I can go and spend time going through books before I check them out. It's my favorite way to relax before I go to sleep.
And
to
it's
read.
so good for your brain to read. Because it keeps
and I read all kinds of things. Most people, you tend to get sort of rut if you're not careful. I have 3 different schools. I have an undergraduate degree and 2 master's degrees. All of those schools have online book clubs. So they're pitching books that I might not have looked at for their book club. And typically it's an alumni or a professor who wrote the book. But books I wouldn't otherwise have read. I just finished a book on the Edmund Fitzgerald. If you heard the song, that was the professor at the University of Michigan who researched that and put it together. And really, it's a nonfiction book, but it was fascinating. I found it fascinating. And I'm not from Michigan. I just went to school there. But when I went to school, that tragedy was still fairly recent. And so there were people around me talking about it who knew someone who was involved in some way. So I encourage people, if you're a reader like me, get involved with a book club or 2 to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, because you will learn something you may not have otherwise learned.
That's awesome. All right. What about the best trip that you've taken in the last year?
I have 2. Okay. So Dad's family's Greece. I had never been to Greece. I had the opportunity to go on my birthday. So I had a significant birthday this past year, and my partner was assigned to work. And he was like because we had tried to do something special for my birthday. Oh, I'm going to reschedule. I'll be flying to Greece. And then he went, look at the manifest and said, looks like there's seats available. Want to go to Greece for your birthday? And I said, yes.
Best birthday present.
It was the best birthday present ever.
Yeah.
And then the second trip was very similarly. He was assigned to fly to Santiago, Chile. And he's done that trip a number of times over the years that I've known him. But this time he was going to be there for a few days. And my family had hosted an exchange student when I was in high school who was from Chile, who found me on LinkedIn about 20 years ago. And coincidentally, we were both in human resources at the time. So we ended up somehow the algorithm kind of, so we had been in touch, we had been communicating, and I let him know that I had this opportunity, and he said, give me a call and, we'll together. And sure enough, he met us at the hotel and gave us a personal tour of the city. And we got to catch up. And with a little practice, my Spanish got better. His English got better. So, we got out. It's been a long time after all. But it was magical. It was magic. It was, seen him in 50 years and it was stepped right back into the friendship we once had. So
much fun.
So can't pick one over the other. Those, I think, were the two.
I see why.
Totally fair.
We'll give you an exception and let you answer that way. Okay, final. What is the most difficult jump that you can do on ice?
I don't jump.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
So when I first learned to skate and I first started that testing track, I learned some jumps. I learned waltz jump and salchow and flips. And I was working on an axel at one point and I just didn't like it. I was falling. I wasn't any good at it. I would practice and go to a test session to advance to the next level. And I would fall and fail the test session. I was like, I was frustrated. My coach was getting frustrated and he was a former junior Olympic ice dance champion in his native country. And he said, would you like to try to ice dance instead? And I said, okay, yeah. He intended to be a distraction, is let's focus someplace else for a while and then come back to this. And I never really looked back. So every once in a while, I will try to do some of those jumps. I can do an axel off ice in the gym, not on the ice. That's the level.
I'm afraid.
But more slippery.
But I dancing, waltzes and tangos and rhythm dances and just it's a lot of fun. And that sets me up for going to these social ice dance weekends.
Nice.
Where I meet other people and can socialize with other adults in the same situation I'm in. They don't want to jump either necessarily. They just want to have fun on the ice. So
maybe come watch you someday.
Yeah,
Laurel,
absolutely.
I'm sad our time is up, but I wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your story so honestly today. And I know there are so many things in this podcast that I'm sure a lot of you heard and can hang on to. I'm sure you heard pieces of your own life in what we shared today. So hopefully you even heard permission to stop fighting your body. That's one of Laurel's biggest messages for us. If today's episode resonated with you, here's what we want you to take with you. Health is not something that you learn by punishment. It's something that you build by fueling, supporting, and understanding your body from the time you're young to the time you're older. So if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend who needs to hear this message, and come say hi to us on social. We love hearing about what resonates you, and also in the comments too. So until next time, remember to practice grit to help you follow through and grace to help you love yourself. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.